Happy Manga Monday! And it is officially the start of fall. It is officially the first day of fall, actually, which when I looked it up, I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect because this is the Monday I wanted to do my wrap-up video, review video, whatever you want to call it, of everything I read for Sci-Fi summer, now that summer is yet again behind us. So yeah, I'm going to start with the bad, and then I'm going to go to the middling, you know, from it was just okay to it was pretty enjoyable, but you know, not like my favorite. And then of course we're going to end things off with my favorite reads of Sci-Fi summer. And for each category, I'm going to start with any series that I didn't finish, like I didn't get to finish for whatever reason, and any ongoing series that I only read a, you know, volume or two or so of. And then I will finish them off with the complete series that I managed to read. I'm trying to like keep the categories organized, but yeah, I don't know if anyone cares. And yeah, let me know down below, what did you get to read for Sci-Fi summer? Even if you didn't like mean to participate, if you read any sci-fi reads, any at all, you know, it doesn't have to just be manga or watched anything sci-fi, you know, it was supposed to be covering all mediums, but of course I'm mostly focused on manga. But let me know what you ended up consuming this summer. And yeah, as always, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really would love to reach 2,000 subscribers, so every click of that button gets us a little closer to the goal, and I'll be eternally grateful. So yeah, let's kick things off with the bad. There's really only one bad title in the bunch, one that I just really could not get into. I really could not enjoy. Ghost in the Shell. I am sorry for any of you out there that love this one. It's just not for me. No, I just you know, went over the beautifulness that is the box set in these videos. If you want to go check out all the beautiful box sets, though I did forget Nausicaa, as the commenters started commenting about owning Nausicaa. I went, I own that box set, but did I remember it? No, I knew I'd forget one. But anyway, back to Ghost in the Shell. So I did say that it was a secret whether I'd read it or not for this upcoming video reveal, and I did manage. Okay, it was really hard for a minute there, but I did manage to complete at least this first volume. There are 2 other volumes in the box set. I did not finish those, so technically it's incomplete, but at least I completely finished this one, and I'm proud of myself for getting through it. I'm sorry. It was especially painful the like first a third to a half of this one. The characters were kind of, I wouldn't say straight up unlikable, but there was nothing for me to grab onto about them. They were just each chapter running a new mission, you know, kind of focused on that. Not much characterization happening other than gotta, you know, just gotta do our mission, right? Get the mission done. As we went on, we got like a little more depth, a little more layers, but not much. And a lot of it was like sci-fi jargon type shenanigans of this like world that's like the AI and the cybernetics. I'm not saying anything specific because I honestly didn't understand anything, so maybe I'm just stupid, but this series, this volume, just not enjoyable. So this was my unfortunate bottom of the barrel, and I will probably unhaul Ghost in the Shell, sadly, even though the box set is very, very beautiful to look at. I'm trying to have a collection in which everything I own is something I would want to theoretically revisit and reread, and this is not one of them. My cousin was also interested in this one, so maybe he will want to take it off my hands for me. Moving on now to category 2, there is a bit of a range, but for the most part, just know I enjoyed them. I just didn't think they were like the best of the best reads. So first up are the ones that are complete, but I did not completely finish reading them. Starting off with Full Metal Panic, the most embarrassing one for me not to complete because I do own all of the manga. It wasn't like it was a bad read. It was just like, okay, I got more into it. I thought the second volume was better and I was going to try to complete it, but it just slipped kind of on the back burner and I never did. So I read the first 2 volumes and didn't complete it. I think if I get a lot of the reading I would like to get done for future videos done, maybe I will try to finish this one, but I make no promises. Following that up with Yokohama Kadaishi Kikko. So this one I actually don't own all of the volumes yet. I only own the first 2 omnibuses and I only got through this first omnibus. And this was kind of one of those ones where I didn't plan to read it. Like everything I planned to read was in this video. You can check it out and see if I did a good job on my, what I wanted to accomplish and read this summer and versus what I actually did read, which I think I did pretty good. But yeah, I did read this because it was sci-fi. I kind of forgot about it and someone commented about it after I did the Spotlight Saturday Aria video and they mentioned this one and I can totally see why. It gives me a lot of that similar atmosphere and feelings. And so far the first volume was pretty enjoyable. I wouldn't say like, I didn't read the second omnibus. I wasn't like over the moon about this first one, but it set up a very interesting world that reflects the melancholy beauty of life in a seaside town with this android who runs a cafe. And yeah, it's just very like kind of quiet, ruminating, atmospheric read or start to a series at least. And I liked it. I'm definitely going to collect the rest of it and read on. Just didn't get to it for this particular challenge. So, but yeah, it was a nice addition. It gave a different flavor to what I was reading. Being more of a slice of life type sci-fi read. And another one that is complete or is soon to be complete. I can't remember if the 7th volume is out yet or not, but I did read volumes 1 and volumes 2 of Heart Gear. So I'm not going to go into it too much in this video because last Monday's video, I talked about this because I kind of read it for both that challenge of rereading the first volume and finally reading the second volume of series I had the first 2 volumes of on my shelf, or whatever the heck I called the video. But yeah, just to see if I wanted to continue it. So if you want to hear my thoughts on that, go check that video out. But overall, I did like it. I think Rui, I don't know how to say her name, Rui is a very likable protagonist. She's sweet, she's innocent, she's warm-hearted, and easy to like and get behind in this story. I'm a little concerned of how it could wrap up in like 7 volumes, but yeah. Then one that I only read 1 volume of and I don't believe is complete, but you could correct me on that. Either way, I didn't completely read it, and that is Touring After the Apocalypse. So I loved the vibes of this one. Again, we have an apocalyptic setting. We haven't seen really any other humans in this first volume, at least. It's just these 2 young girls traveling around Japan on a bike, seemingly going to spots that the one's older sister visited before this whole apocalypse happened. I feel like there's a lot more to this story that we get little sprinklings, little teasings of, which I do appreciate. For instance, the girl whose older sister supposedly, traveled around before the apocalypse. She's having these weird, like almost flashback memory type things when she's sleeping like a dream, only it's like almost taking her back into the past of the place she is currently at, and getting to see a glimpse of what life was like in this place originally, the hustle and bustle and the atmosphere of the past and the people there and stuff. So she's not really interacting with anyone, but she's like seeing it close up, which she supposedly should have no knowledge of. So there's something weird with that. I don't know what's going on. And also this girl seems to be somewhat not 100% human, perhaps. She like shoots a laser beam out of her mouth, I think, at one point. she does something that definitely doesn't seem human. So it's interesting. We got little twists, and yeah, the girls are cute. They're carefree, traveling around, making the most of the apocalypse and exploring Japan. And yeah, cute vibes. I definitely think I'll continue this series because it was enjoyable. Now moving on to complete series. So these are series that I finished and completed, though technically this one I didn't read all of it during Sci-Fi Summer. I had already read the first omnibus, but I read the second and third omnibus completing the series this summer, and that is King in Limbo. So I really like the concept, and volume 1 hyped me up so much. I was so excited to get my hands on volume 2 and 3, but it took me a little while. Finally got my hands on them, and I'm like, I need to read these. So yeah, like I said, really loved the premise, which was this sleeping disease had affected humanity, and all of a sudden it's like a new strain of it is back, and King, who had helped stop the original strain, is now given a new partner, and they are like sent into people's minds, and the sleeping sickness has something to do with people's trauma and past and stuff, which I thought was really interesting. So that whole thing was interesting. I just don't think it was executed great. I have two major gripes with it. When we get more info on King and his ex-partner, the partner before this guy, and the fact that he was married and had a kid with that partner, and I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling how the relationship was shown. It felt like a very like gross age gap and kind of grooming-ish, you know? I wasn't happy. I wasn't a fan of it, okay? The second one is a spoiler, so I will just say I wasn't really excited about how the twist of who was behind the sleeping disease was revealed and who it was, and that we barely got any real time with this character to maybe come up with or theorize that they could be behind it, and also no characterization to feel like wanting to bring back the sleeping disease and all this stuff was justified, because again, we got no real characterization. So the reveal just felt pretty weak and not satisfactory to me, but it was okay overall. I still really enjoyed the boys, and yeah, I'm on the fence about keeping it in my collection, but for now it'll stay. And then a standalone series that I read, they were 11. So excited for more Moto Hagio. However, this one was probably the weakest thing I've ever read from her, and that's not like putting it down a lot, because like her stuff is just so high. Like it just didn't reach the highs of what I'd read previously, of the other one-shots I'd read previously, if I were to compare it. But I will say the first part, which I believe these are 2 volumes, feel free to correct me, but originally I feel like there was 1 volume and then a second volume was released, and then this omnibus collects them into 1. The first volume, the first half of this, I really, really liked. It gave me like predecessor to Astra Lost in Space vibes, where there's like supposed to be 10 of these cadets on this like training mission, and when they land into the spaceship, all of a sudden there's 11, and they're like, well fuck, who's like not supposed to be here, and they're trying to figure it out. But at the same time, all of these calamities that possibly are part of their test but possibly aren't are happening on the ship. And so the psychological aspect of it, of you know, the 11th person, why are they here, what's up with this, and the actual physical like struggles that they have to do to try and pass the test to become like members of some like space program thing. I can't remember exactly what it was, like this an elite space university or something. But yeah, they're in training and this is their final test and they need to pass it. So it's that like high stakes, but also possibly life-threatening stakes that have been added into the mix. And so that was really good. Then volume 2 took a sharp nosedive, in my opinion. We follow more closely only like 3 of the characters. And the story was just kind of weak to me. It was kind of wah-wah. I didn't love where it was going. Yeah, if we stopped at the first volume, I would have been a happy camper and it would have been raised much higher. Like, I could have just done without it. I don't know. That's my personal opinion, but yeah. Overall, I'm split on this one because I really, really liked the first half and then really, really wasn't super a fan of the second half. So that's why it ended up in the just okay tier. Switching gears a little bit, I did manage to read one graphic novel series, and that was Descender, which is complete at 6 volumes. And then its sequel series, which is Ascender, which is complete at 4 volumes. First of all, right off the bat, gorgeous artwork. Like you can see just from these covers alone, see like the back covers. The art in this is so nice. Like the watercolor colors really like pop, but they also give it this ethereal, atmospheric, very otherworldly vibe, which is very on brand for this Otherworld series. But I have to say, I really enjoyed Descender, and Ascender really just brought it down. Like, I wasn't a fan of Ascender, okay? So that's why it's in the okay tier. Like, if I was to say, just based on Descender, which takes place 10 years after these planet-sized robots called Harvesters appeared and wreaked havoc against the globe and turned all the species in the planets really against robots and artificial intelligence. And then in present day, this one specific robot android called Tim 21 reawakens, reboots, and he is being kind of pursued by multiple factions for multiple different reasons, and the mysteries behind the Harvesters and Tim 21, like the reason so many factions want him, like all those layers were really interesting to me. I liked most of the characters that were introduced. The stakes felt appropriately high. I would be tempted to give Descender into the really, really liked it pile. However, then we have the direct continuation of Descender, which is Ascender. And it is only 4 volumes, which already made my, like eyebrow raise a little bit, like, is that gonna be enough, to tell a whole nother like part to this? Because like, it seemed like it wanted to really go into its own kind of story like Descender did with the robots, only Ascender is focused on a universe that is not reliant on technology and robots, and instead magic takes center stage, it takes over, and we have this creepy ass cult, which I actually was really into. Like, I'll say like the first 2 volumes of Ascender, I was pretty on board for it. It's so hard to talk about without giving spoilers, but one, they introduce 2 characters that we are introduced to in Descender's child, and we're mostly following that child, and they don't sufficiently make me believe that that child is special, and really essentially the child doesn't end up doing much in my opinion. So it felt like kind of a weird, like they were building her up to be something like a chosen one type of thing, and then didn't really do anything much anyway. And then also the stakes, they didn't feel very high. They didn't feel sufficiently high like they did in Descender. At first they did, but then they kept being like, JK, you thought they were gone? You thought they were not dead? No, I would never do that. I would never kill your character on you. What do you mean? You kept killing characters in this one, and now you won't kill anyone in this one? I mean, not kept killing them, but we would kill off a few characters here and there. And it was like a good balance. You know, some people made it through some harrowing things and some didn't. And now you want to just be like, oh, everyone will make it. All the characters you cared about, don't you worry. I just hate that story writing. Like, if you're gonna like, you know, pull out stops and like make stakes high and like be like earth ending, like, you know, crazy magic world now that's not relying on technology and it's like banned technology, you know, and aren't willing to murder anyone that goes against the cult of Mother. You gotta be like, you gotta kill some people. Like, I'm sorry, can I kill a few people? And it just didn't. And then it wrapped up so quickly, like so quickly. I was just very like underwhelmed. Yeah, I think if it had 2 more volumes at least, like Descender did, it might have been able to like flesh more things out. But also if it just had taken some risks and some characters, then A, they wouldn't have taken up as much of the available room to tell their stories. And like, yeah, you wouldn't have gotten maybe as much of a happy ending, but you know, the world is falling to pieces. The world is in shambles. Like, I don't know. It's me personally. I didn't feel like it was as well told as Descender. Descender I give an A. Ascender I give like a C. And so together they equal a B. Yeah, overall it was a fun read. Like I said, art was gorgeous to look at. Like just staring at panels, like or chapter art, like for days. So I'm torn between getting rid of this one and unhauling it or not, because I really do love the art so much. Like I'd love to like flip through and revisit the art, but the story wasn't super strong to me overall. Yeah, I'm also tempted just to keep Descender because I think on its own it could be like a really good story, even though at the end they do tease like, hey, things to come in Ascender, but it's like, I don't care for those things that come. Yeah, I'm curious if anyone's read that one. Let me know what your thoughts were, because yeah, I'll have to talk to my cousin now that I've read it, because I'm very like torn on how I feel about it. But yeah, let's move on to the final category, which is the favorites, the favorite reads, the ones I super duper loved. So first up, again, ongoing series, and I do believe none of these are finished, in at least America where I am. And this one is going to be in the video with Heartgear on reading two volumes to see if I want to continue the series. And that is Gachiakuta. So I read volume 1, or reread, I should say, volume 1, and then read volume 2. So yeah, I really like go into it more in this one, but obviously it's been my favorite tier. I really love this one. I honestly didn't. I didn't love volume 1 the first time around. I didn't hate it, but I was like, I don't understand why this is so hyped. And now I appreciate it way more. But yeah, I think a few key things changed in my perspectives, and I think this type of dystopian sci-fi setting just really hit harder this time around for me. But yeah, if you want to know more of my thoughts, go check out that video. And these next two I also did talk about in my tier list part 2 videos. They were featured in there, but I did read on. I read volume 2s of both of these. First up is Cosmos. I still really love Cosmos. I think it's got a really good premise, having a human who can detect lies working for an alien corporation, an alien insurance corporation. It's an interesting premise, and it sufficiently has a good blend of action, interesting moments, heartfelt moments, and a fun cast of characters so far. So yeah, it's got everything. It ticks all the boxes for me. And then we have Color of the End, volume 1 and 2. Absolutely loving this one, giving those city in ruin vibes for my challenge. Oh my gosh, Like, I just love the art in this one. I love the atmosphere. I know I've said atmosphere like 1,000 times in this video, but like seriously, atmosphere is so good in this one. And the world building so interesting. Like, we're basically just following, at least like in the beginning, just this one, we'll call her a humanoid girl that is collecting the dead and getting rid of this remnants of the creatures that ended up killing the humans, destroying the world, and giving humans a proper burial, exploring the ruined cities. And it's very like slow paced, so you might think it would be kind of a dull read, but to me anyway, it was so rich, so vibrant, so interesting. And yeah, I'm just super excited because things are starting to shift in volume 2. And I just can't wait to see what happens from here on out. And lastly, we have the complete reads. So I'm gonna start with the one that I only read 1 volume in order to complete this one. And that was Leviathan, volume 3. So I'd already read volumes 1 and 2 previously. And volume 3 was the last volume. It's a little bittersweet. I could have used even more of this one. And I do think that volume 1 is the strongest volume in this series. It has the most psychologically rich horror going on and really like ups the anxiety, ups the tension, ups the stakes, and in this really amazing horror sci-fi way. I was all over it. Volume 2, I think, could have benefited by being split into 2 volumes, like getting to know more of the classmates on this ship, the Leviathan, in volume 2, and then volume 3 being where they actually go all Lord of the Flies on each other. And yeah, so that being said, it's a bit rushed of a series. However, I really love the twists and the turns and the reveals that we get in the 3rd volume. It all kind of like makes sense and sufficiently had me satisfied. Like, I really liked it. I mean, like I said, I can nitpick, I can say things that I would have done this, maybe I would have fleshed this out more. But overall, as a fun, gory little horror sci-fi thriller, I had a good time with it. I can't complain. Now on to my final 2 series. We have Pluto by Urasawa and Tezuka. Tezuka is the original creator of Astro Boy, and this series is Naoki Urasawa's like kind of spin on it. I have never watched nor consumed any type of Astro Boy material, so I do think that if I had a history, a past with Astro Boy, this would have even been better to me. Like, I think on its own as a mystery fueled introspective on what makes us human and cannot AI be human, kind of questioning the humanity of AI, kind of a scary prospect in this day and age, but it's all very interesting. Like, as its own series, is very interesting. But I think if I even had that more layers to be more invested in Astro Boy himself, it could have added to this one. But as it stands, I really, really enjoyed this one. It made me tear up a bit. I think it was in volume 6 and volume 8, the final volume. But yeah, just like, it got some emotional punches in, and I was sufficiently hooked. I was sufficiently like, need to know what is happening, just like with all of Naoki Urasawa's works. He's so good at building the tension and the intrigue and the mysteries, and just needing, like, just having you need to read more, just pushing you to need to keep reading without stopping until you get the answers you're looking for. Like all the characters that are looking for answers in this volume. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Like, I would say overall it would be my weakest Naoki Urasawa read so far. So I've read Monster and I've read 20th Century Boys. I would put this one 3rd, Monster favorite, 20th Century Boys, then Pluto. However, that being said, still pretty high on my list. Like, it still was a favorite read. It was really easy to read through. I read through it really quickly, even when I was kind of dealing with a bit of an August slump. Still got through it pretty good. And that's saying something. And like I said, sufficiently interesting. I definitely think if you've read any of Naoki Urasawa's works and you haven't picked this one up, that you might really enjoy it. So maybe you want to give it a try too, like I did, because I was a little nervous about the Astro Boy tie-in and if I would enjoy it, but safe to say I did. And last but not least, we have Neon Genesis Evangelion. So I don't want to say I have a love-hate relationship with this one, but boy, I have the most complex feeling on this one. So this is why I left it to the end, because it was such a ride. I loved it way more than the anime because I actually got through the manga, in which the anime I have not finished watching. Don't come for me. It just, I don't know if it just condensed some of Shinji's whining and just kind of like, you know, streamlined things, made things kind of move a little quicker, because the anime just felt like it dragged, man. It really felt like it dragged. That being the case, I really feel like the manga redeemed the series for me, because personally, I mean, I'm not going to say I was side-eyeing people who love this one, but I was just kind of like, but why? Is it just nostalgia? Is it just like, because you watched it like in your formative years, which I understand. I have a lot of series I don't think are good that I have a nostalgic love for. But no, I think it is a really well-written story. It's very interesting. I think a lot of the things, the themes that are brought up in this series are really interesting. Sometimes I wish they'd go a little deeper or like linger on these things, you know, and again, maybe now that I know where things are going and majority-wise like the direction of the series. Now, if I go back to the anime, which kind of feels like a slow burn version of this, that I'll feel differently about the anime and appreciate that it takes its time in those areas where before I was like, just get to the damn point. But yeah, I think this is a really brutal series. It does not shy away, kind of like with Pluto. It doesn't shy away from like the brutality of what these kids are dealing with in, you know, running these Avas and trying to stop this third impact that could, you know, destroy the world, and like the layers behind that. It's not so cut and dry. Again, like with Pluto, there's just things going on in the background. There's mysteries. I think Pluto's much more mystery forward, and this one's more action forward, mystery in background. And so it's a different way of setting it up and exploring them, but still they do tackle certain themes and the mysteries that are unraveled throughout are kind of similar in nature, talking about a lot of human nature and things of that sort. It's really hard, again, to like A, not spoil things, and B, go into depth with this one. And I do really like have mixed feelings on it. I like how hard it goes, how it doesn't hold back on any of its punches. Like, it made for a hard read. These are kids, and so I felt even worse for them. The whole Kaoru and the kitty situation didn't help. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot of layers. I have like a lot of things I like about it, a few things I didn't love about it. I like how everything builds into the climax. Appreciate good storytelling. It felt like we had efficiently built up to this moment, and everything that had led to it, you know, added to Shinji's character and development. Everything like made sense. And so I really like that. But then at the very, very end, it kind of like did a thing that I don't really love. Again, I'm not going to spoiler it. I'm not going to spoil it. But just note, again, mixed feelings. Overall, I put it in the love it category because I do think it deserves to be here, but I do have the most complicated feelings on this one. Overall, I thought it was a really really solid read. Yeah, I'm more apt to go back and finish anime now, having read through the manga, and I know that there's like subsequent movies and stuff, and like maybe that will also flesh out things for me. Yeah, if you have any suggestions on how to tackle Neon Genesis Evangelion, you know, like what movies to watch for more information, or like which ones you think are good or to start with or whatever, drop it below. So yeah. And now that I've gotten through that one, which I was the most nervous to try and sum up my feelings on, I have completely touched on all of these sci-fi reads. And yeah, like I said, I think I did pretty good in comparison to what I wanted to read and what I actually ended up reading. I'm pretty proud of everything I read, and like I said in the beginning, I would love to hear what you all managed to read or watch, and or the highlight reel at least of like what you really enjoyed for sci-fi summer, or just ended up reading in general. And yeah, I hope you will check out last Monday's video and get more on the 2 sci-fi reads plus 2 others. And I hope I see you again soon. Until then,